Hi and welcome, I'm Birta, and today I want to try and recreate the thing that I did not manage to make last year. It's just way too small. And that's an Icelandic traditional costume. I will be attempting the 20th century traditional costume, but now that I'm thinking more about it, it's gonna have a 21st century flair. It's gonna be made fast, cheap, and with synthetic fibers. Don't know if I should applaud to that, but that's how we're gonna do it. Today is the 15th of June and the National Icelandic holiday is on the 17th. So I'm giving myself just under 2 days to make this. This time around, even though there's a short notice, I put a little bit more thought into looking at more garments that actually exist and seeing what elements are missing from my piece from last year. Those elements are golden backstitching. We have some pleated ruffle things out of the actual bodice itself, and my understanding is that is something that goes under the skirt just so it actually stays in the correct position of the whole outfit. There's also embroidery and is usually with hard wire, like it's metal work or wire work that goes on the side of the bodice. I don't have that luxury because it's very expensive. It's expensive to have made and it's expensive to buy, even if you buy it used. I didn't realize last time around there is actually a hook and an eye on the bottom of the bodice. So I'll be adding that, and that's to keep it closed. So you're not actually using the metal chain to hold it close together. It's actually closed on the waist here. Other elements I didn't have last year, but I was gonna make were a belt. I want to try to make a skirt, and it's basically like a walking skirt, is that it's kind of straight down. I want to have it a little bit flare, but it's straight down with a lot of not ruffles but the pleats on the back. And I'm also gonna add a traditional apron. The last and final thing I want to make is the hat. It's called skotthúfa, so it's like a hat that goes from here and is kind of like a Christmas hat in a way that it has like a long thing, and then you have frilly things coming from it. And last year I did make the golden kind of thing that I was gonna put on there. So I even have that. I have the frilly things, and I just have to figure a way to make the hat. All the fabric that I'm using for this is either thrifted or upcycled, and I'm gonna try to make this as cheap as possible because honestly, a traditional costume to me should mean that it's attainable to have one and you don't have to pay hundreds of thousands of kronas to have one. It's expensive. If you don't have a family member that ever made one, that you're getting it handed down to you from, you're kind of shit out of luck. So I'm gonna try and make myself one that's not gonna cost me an arm and a leg. Now, all I have left to do is just sew that, and the lining, and the hat, and the belt, and the skirt, and maybe make an apron. Whew, boy, okay. I should get to it. Today was mostly spent on planning, cutting, and just making all the basics. I took the velvet fabric to be embroidered, and that saved me a lot of time and frustration because I was gonna throw the whole project out the window on the first step. So having it embroidered saved me a lot of time and a lot of frustration. After that, I cut all the fashion fabric, all the main fabric. So that's the satin and that's the velvety part with the embroidery on it. I made some alterations to the front of the bodice because of the velvety part instead of just sewing it on the front of it. I can't remember how I did it last year and can't be bothered to look it up. You tell me, what did I do last year? I can't remember. I hope it works out. I think it should, but pray for me. I ironed the interfacing on. I cut all the lining and assembled the interior of the bodice basically. I cut all the panels for the skirt and I measured, cut and just basically finished the belt. I have these belt loops that I bought from Etsy last year, but they didn't arrive in time for me to use them on the 17th. I have them now. They are probably the most expensive thing in this whole project. I think that's it for today, and tomorrow I'll have to start with the embellishments on the back of the vest. The only thing I have finished is the belt, which I mean, yay, I have a belt. Oh, hey. I'm just trying to get a little bit of breather in before I start today because it's gonna be hectic, I think. This is day 2 and I have so much left to do. Okay, I should get to it. I just don't know how to get up out of this. Okay. Ugh. Hey, I did it. What's next up for me today is to attach everything to the lining. I have the lining here ready and just waiting. Next on the list for me would be to make the scotua, and I think I'm actually going to do that now because I need to step away from the bodice, from the vest for a hot second. It's about to, so the lining is in the uterus phase. Uterus. The rest is in pieces on the table right now, and I'm gonna just mentally prepare for assembly of everything else. So I figured I would make the hat. If I wear a wig, I can just pin it into that, and that's that. So I think I'm gonna use this velvet thing one last time, because I have a couple of pieces left from making the front of the bodice. So this is actually the skirt from the dress that I had. If the general shape of a Santa hat is a triangle, I feel like this would be more of a tear shape, and then it has this long thin strand of tail, which is scotua is like a tail hat if you were to translate it directly. I'm gonna try it. I'm just gonna wing it and go for it. So this is where I'm at currently. I have pinned the lining and the actual fashion fabric together. I have a feeling it's gonna look weird once everything comes together, but hopefully not. This will come in a little bit on both sides here, and the back is like this. I'm gonna stop tonight. I'm gonna start very early tomorrow to try and finish this for the day. I'm not gonna do a skirt. I have 2 things ready already, which is the belt and the hat. And hopefully if I finish this and an apron, 4 out of 5 is a very good thing. And I'll do the walking skirt later. We'll do that as its own separate thing. Good night. This is it. This is how it turned out. Last year I made one that was too small, and ironically this year I made one that's too big. I don't have the boobage for this. Maybe I can fix it, like take it apart, do something. I think it's because of my alterations with the velvet thing. I should just put it on top of the other one. This seems to be cursed for me to try and make. But I do have the hat. I think the hat is very nice. It's horrible to get on your head because I probably made it too small. But since it's on a wig, I can use something like this to put it on the wig and then just pop it on my head because it's just kind of pinned in. I think the hat looks decent. It looks like a proper hat. I took down the cost of everything and we're gonna go through it because this was astonishingly cheap to make. Granted, I did have some of the fabrics from last year, but even at that time, I didn't even buy them for the project. So let's go over it. For the bodice, we have the velvet type of fabric, which was a dress that I had. I wanted to upcycle it into something better. So I would say that was free. The satin kind on the back and on the side of the bodice used to be a skirt from a dress that I had ever since I was a teenager, so I would say that was free. The lining for the bodice I thrifted, so it must have been like 500 kronas at most. The hook and eye for down here on the bodice is actually from the velvet dress, so that was free. For the grommets, I would say they came in a bundle, so they were very cheap, let's say 80 kronas. That's 10 kronas per grommet. The embroidery was less than 1,000 kronas, but for simplicity's sake, let's say it was 1,000. The binding and the golden embellishment that I sewed on the back actually came in a large thrifted bag of sewing stuff that I found. So I would say maybe 30 kronas each, so that's 60 kronas. The stuff on front here I actually bought, and let's include the paint used in that, so we'll say maybe 1,200 kronas. Even for the peplum that I added this year, the thing that actually goes into your pants or your skirt, I used the lining fabric that I used on last year's bodice. So that used to be pants that I got gifted. They're in both of the bodices. For the skotthua, I think I bought this super cheaply. It was like 1 meter for 400 kronas. The fabric itself is from that same dress. It's just the scraps. And this thing I glued together. It used to be a necklace. The necklace was like 300, and with the hot glue, let's say it was 500 kronas. So the hat is under 1,000. And I think the belt buckles are actually one of the most expensive thing that I bought for this whole whole outfit. So the buckles were $31, which was like 3,500 at the time, if I remember correctly. And the belt itself is made from the curtains that we used to have that I was gonna make the skirt out of. I'm gonna make another video for the walking skirt and the apron because I'm obviously done with this. I'm wearing pants, like that's not traditional. But this definitely wasn't a total loss. I did not go out wearing this because I kind of feel it doesn't fit me right. So I'm not too proud of this, but I'm very happy that I made it because I feel like I've learned a lot. Now I know the existence of embroidery machines and what they can be capable of. So I actually might utilize that in something going forward, which is something that I would have never had thought about if not trying to figure out how to fix what I just made. Don't get me wrong, I think it looks nice and I actually think I made it quite well, and I think my sewing is just getting more advanced with every single thing I do and make. Let me know if you have made a traditional something that went better or worse than mine, because I'd love to hear your story about it. Feel free to subscribe. I mean, that would help me a lot. I'm still trying to get to 1,000, which is crazy. It's just not going for me. And whenever I get into the role of making videos, something comes up and I'm kind of knocked down again. I'm gonna try and be more efficient with churning out videos. Otherwise, I just hope you have a great day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! I'm gonna see now if I can do a helicopter with this thing without hurting myself. So let's try it. Woo! I'm doing it, baby! Oh no! Hell yeah.